The story begins with guests at the prince's palace asking, "Where has the prince gone?" The daughter of the Charliette family is also missing. Meanwhile, in a bedroom, the prince and the Charliette daughter are together. She thinks to herself, "I feel so hot. Even the clothes I'm wearing feel like they're burning." The prince, also sweating profusely, thinks to himself, "My throat feels like it's on fire. No, I can't control myself anymore." As he approaches her, he thinks, "I can't wait any longer." At the same time, she thinks, "I can't wait any longer." They look at each other lustfully and simultaneously think, "I can't wait to make her mine." Blushing slightly, he thinks to himself, "Miss Rose, could she be the chosen one?" He then takes her face in his hands. She thinks, "The prince and I were never supposed to be, or so I thought. This is the Chartreuse Academy, where the upper class from neighboring countries attend. It's supposed to be a peaceful place." When she arrives, the others exclaim in a tense voice, "Silence!" They then whisper to each other, "Miss Rose is very scary. It looks like she gave me a glare. Be quiet. You don't know what she'll do to you if she hears you." Anyway, Miss Rose, from the Charliette family, the most prestigious family in any neighboring country, is very beautiful but known for her arrogance. And in contrast, there's Prince Theodore. One of his friends said to him, "Prince, please compete with me." And with great humility, he agreed, saying, "Of course, don't hesitate, as you know." The girls started saying, "Prince Theodore is so kind to everyone. He's my dream guy. To think that the prince and Miss Rose will get married." Rose smiled to herself and thought, "Prince Theo, as always, you look wonderful." This is Theodore Van Himmel, the crown prince of the kingdom of Kurat. He has a celebrity-level appearance and an impeccable social standing. Rose looked at him shyly and thought to herself, "To think that he is my fiancé. I am so lucky." She then said to him, "Prince Theodore, finally, your birthday party will be this week. I'm so excited." "That's right. Do you have any gifts?" He looked at her and said her name, Miss Rose. Then he suddenly approached her, startling her. At that moment, he told her, "If you need anything, you can just ask my servants, all right? It's enough for us to remain on friendly terms. So, I'll see you at the party." Then he left. She stared after him, thinking to herself, "That's right. He's different from the Prince Theodore I know." She understood why he treated her so coldly, and sadly thought to herself, "I think he's trying to say, don't talk to me at school, because I'm not the beloved heroine, but the villain. I, in my past life, died in an accident, and when I woke up, I had been reincarnated into the game I invested a lot of time in, Prince of Prince, or Pry for short. Do you want to go out for dinner this week? It's a dating simulation game where you search for your most compatible partner, the right person, based on how well your pheromones match. But I'm not the heroine. I became the villain, Rose. And the villain, Rose, had been betrothed to marry Prince Theodore since childhood by their families. However, the prince was tired of the always arrogant Rose. And finally, at his birthday party, Prince Theodore meets an innocent and naive heroine. And in the end, they become a couple and Rose is exiled to the countryside. At least that's what happens in the game's story. And I was reincarnated just in time before the prince met the heroine. Here she was, looking at him from the window, laughing to herself. "Prince Theodore! Even when he's wiping sweat, he looks handsome." Then she thought to herself, "What else can a villain like me do now but enjoy watching my favorite character?" Or so I thought. Why? I'm the villain. This kind of thing isn't supposed to happen. Here, we return to the moment they were in the room and Theodore, sweating, says, "What? Is this... am I... horny?" A few hours earlier, at the prince's birthday party, the guests were whispering about Rose, saying, "That's Miss Rose, the arrogant noblewoman." Hearing this, Rose thought angrily, "Oh my God, I can hear you." Then she looked at the heroine and said, "By the way, huh? This is her, The real heroine, Iris. Then she turned and looked at Prince Theodore and thought to herself, and she must be looking at... Here, with loving eyes, she looked at him, falling in love, and said, "Prince, you look wonderful in that uniform too." But she snapped back to reality and said, "Now is not the time for that." Then she looked at them and continued thinking to herself, "That's right. Today is when the prince and the heroine meet, the fateful day when they realize they found each other as the right person. That's right. This girl is the main heroine, Iris, from the girls' dating simulation game Prince of Prince, short for Pry Pry." She went to her and said, "You admire the prince, don't you?" Iris was surprised and said, "Rose, no, that's not." Then shyly she said, "I'm happy enough just to be invited." Rose trembled slightly and thought to herself, "She's so kind. No wonder she's the heroine. A good girl like you, the prince will definitely fall in love with her." She said to Iris, "You'll be fine. Why don't you talk to him? Be confident." Iris smiled at her and said, "You're a much nicer person than I thought, Rose." But Rose said angrily, "More than you thought." Iris then went to him, and they danced happily together. Rose watched them and thought to herself, "They really suit each other. I think there's nothing I can do. Because now I'm just the villain. I mean, I understand that, but it hurts." She continued sadly, "I think I'll go home." But as she was about to leave, Prince Theodore went to her and offered her his hand, saying, "I was dancing with another girl, but you're behaving very politely, which is unusual." Rose was surprised because she hadn't expected him to come to her. He said, "Why are you surprised? We're engaged, so we have to dance at least once, don't we?" She nervously replied, "Yes." "That's right." At the same time, she thought to herself, "Why? I mean, in the game, the prince and the heroine meet while dancing, and they stay together afterward." She continued thinking to herself, "And they become life partners. That's the story I know." At the same time, Prince Theodore said, "Miss Rose might not want to dance with me, but there are people watching us." But she didn't respond, and she continued thinking to herself, "Why didn't anything happen between them? Why?" Suddenly, she said to him nervously, "No, that's not what I meant. That's not." But when she put her hand in his, they connected with each other, and they both felt this harmony. Surprised by what was happening, Theodore said, "What is this?" He started sweating and said to her, "Come with me." Then he pulled her and took her to the room and put her on the bed. He said, "Don't tell me I'm horny." Here, we'll understand that the state of horniness is a game mechanic triggered when two characters' pheromones interact. In this world, when their pheromones interact, the characters become the most compatible partners for each other. And in the game, Prince Theodore's right person should be the main heroine, Iris. So she said, "That can't be possible, that the prince would get aroused with me, the villain." In disbelief, she said, Prince Theodore is... My mind is going blank." Prince Theodore approached her and said, "Miss Rose." At the same time, she thought to herself, every part that the prince touches becomes hot. Then their hands intertwined, and she continued thinking, "This feeling is so good. His fingers intertwined with mine. I don't want to let go." He kissed her head, and they looked into each other's eyes. She thought to herself, "I wish time would stop just like this." But suddenly, Theodore snapped out of it and snapped his fingers to wake himself from this lust. In panic, Rose asked him, "Are you all right?" But he shouted at her, "Don't touch me." Then he left, saying, "I'm sorry. I'm afraid I have to ask you to excuse me today." She thought to herself sadly, "So that's how much he hates me. But this was probably for the best. I mean, if we went down the path where the prince ends up with the villain, we would all die."